and 5th graders, we are live and recording. We are beginning to work with our division this week, and we're going to start off with a little review of yesterday's lesson on on dividing by one-digit divisors with dividends that are multiples of 10 or 100. So that being said, in your notebooks, please get started with these. Remember, box your basic facts. There is one tricky question on number 5 that if you do not box your basic facts, you may find yourself having a simple mistake, a careless error here. So please be sure to box your basic facts. Don't say anything yet. If you see already why number 5 might be tricky, but just take a moment now in your notebooks, and I have my name cards here for Blue Group. So I'm going to shuffle these, and when I call on you, I want you to tell me the final quotient. Okay? And a lot of these are doubled up with basic facts, right? So they should be pretty simple if, big if, you are very familiar with your times tables. So number 1, I've got my first card. Jaden, number 1, 5,400 divided by 9. So your basic facts that you are boxing are?
54 and 9, and then if you divide that would equal 6, add the 2 zeros, and that would be 600 is your quotient.
Beautiful, 600. Ashley, 54,000 divided by 9.
Oh God, 54,000 divided by 9. Wait, can I explain how to do it?
Go ahead. What's our basic facts?
The basic fact for 54 divided by 9 plus 2 zeros, but right now we don't need to care about the zeros.
Right, just focus on that.
54 times 9, you need to know your 9 times tables, and then the easy way for me is to think about the easiest 9 times table. For me it would be all of them, but for you,
all right. Go ahead. So what did you get?
I got 600.
6, not 100.
6.
You've got how many zeros there to carry over?
2. I see 2. Oh no, we're doing.
You're looking at number 2. Looking at number 2. Yes.
6,000.
6,000. Right. You get the 6 from your basic facts and carry over those 3 zeros. Emma, number 3, 6,300 divided by 7. What's your basic facts?
Your basic facts are 63 and 7.
Beautiful. And then your final product?
That equals 9, and then you add the 2 zeros.
Beautiful. So 900.
And you get 900 as your quotient.
Perfecto. All right, let's see who's next. Patrick. Did Patrick make a comeback? Do we have Patrick back with us this afternoon?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
Yay, you're back. All right, Patrick. So you get number 4, 630 divided by 7. What are your basic facts?
63. 6 and 3.
63 and?
The 0.
The 7.
Oh, and the
right?
7. I thought you meant the 1 number.
When I say your basic facts, I mean the times tables that you're going to be focusing on, right? You're focusing on the 7 times table.
And the 7.
Good. So what did you get as your final product, Patrick?
I got 90.
90 is correct. 9 was your basic fact, and then we annexed 1 0. Chris, you get the tricky one, Chris. All right. 4 million divided by 8. What did you get, Chris? You want to tell us your basic facts first?
I couldn't really decide what the basic facts were because I didn't know if it was 4,000.
Well, Which
I figured it out.
combination of those would be in the
Miss
8
Velez, I
times
figured it
table
out.
that you know? Hold
figured
on.
it out.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, wait. Sure.
So in that 4 million, what could you box that would be immediately in your 8 times table that you know for sure?
40.
40, that's your basic fact. So you would box your 40 and you would box your 8, and let's solve just that first. 40 divided by 8 is what? How many times?
5.
5. And then how many extra zeros are there that are not boxed?
5.
5. So your final answer, whoever's singing, can we pause?
500 and 500,000.
You are absolutely correct. 500,000. Who got that one? 500,000. Who added the extra zero?
This place.
Ah, that's why it's tricky. Do you see why it's tricky? Because that's why I tell you, box your basic fact. I tell you that
Miss
over and
Plus.
over for a reason. Hold on one second. Because the 40 divided by 8 gives you 5. You do not count that 0 in the 40. That's why we box it, so that we're not touching anything from that box, okay? You should have gotten 500,000. Yes, Kai, what's up?
Oh, okay, because you said 5,000.
Oh,
I was like, it's
500,000.
500,000.
Oh, my apologies. So 500,000 would be your final product. Does everybody see why that one would be tricky if you didn't box it? Right? Because you may accidentally add on that 0 from your 4 million. And then, last but not least, Dominic. All right, Dominic, 720 divided by 8. What were your basic facts?
My basic facts are technically 720, but you don't circle the one. So it's 72.
72 divided by
8.
8. And what do we get there?
72 divided by 8 is 9.
Good. And then annex those zeros.
Well, we didn't use any zeros, so that's 90.
Good, 90. All right, guys. So that was a good little review, and we're going to be moving forward with using that. So don't forget it, because we're always going to be using those multiples of 10 for our lessons, especially our next lesson. We're going to look at our parts of division first. I want to review. It is very important for you to understand the different names of these terms, because it's not like with our multiplication where you can reverse the order of your factors, right? We have a factor times a factor equals a product. They're both called factors because they're interchangeable. You can switch the order and still get the same answer. In division, that's not the case, right? In division, you cannot simply switch the order of your factors. The dividend is the number that's being divided. The divisor is doing the dividing, and the quotient is your answer. Fifth graders, remember, your divisor is super important. Divisor, right? Your divisor is the tool that you have that tells us what your basic facts are. The divisor is basically, what times table am I using, right? That is the most important thing when we're dividing, knowing what times table I'm looking for facts from. The dividend is the number that is our total number that's being split up. It's being broken into equal groups. Yes? With me? And one little trick I told you to remember was that even the word dividend and the word divisor, notice that the word dividend is longer, it has more letters in it. So, because usually we have a greater amount being divided by a smaller amount. Not always the case. In fractions and decimals, we have the ability to divide a smaller number by a larger number. But just as a rule of thumb, for you to remember that little trick that your dividend is always being divided by your divisor, right? Which is your times tables, your superpower, knowing your times tables. Okay. Matching my little Bitmoji here. Okay, we're ready to move on. All right, so that brings us to our new lesson, estimating quotients. And does this look familiar to you guys? Estimating? It
Yeah.
should. If you read our essential question of the day, you will see some very familiar terms that we use with multiplication.
I think I know how to do this. I think.
Oh, who's confident that they already kind of know how this is going to go? Just from what we did with our multiplication. All right, that's because we've done this, right? We've done this with multiplication. So we're going to be using rounding and compatible numbers to estimate quotients. In this lesson, these are the two methods that we are going to be focusing on. They are methods that we have already used with multiplication. Okay, so let's take a look at our terms again. In case we forgot, rounding was changing our dividend to the nearest multiple of 10. And if you recall, there's a little jingle to remember it. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. With compatible numbers, we're going to change a dividend or a divisor, if it's a large enough divisor, to a number that is simply easier to divide. Doesn't necessarily have to be the nearest 100 or the nearest 10. It's just for us to pick a number that works best for us. So let's take a look at our problem solving for today. Fiona is organizing her book collection. She has 134 books in her collection. She wants to display them on 5 shelves in her bedroom library and wants about the same number of books on each shelf. About how many books should Fiona put on each shelf? So let's break down this problem. Fiona's got a book collection. In total, how many books does she have?
134.
Okay, 134 books. So altogether, she's got 134 books. And how many shelves does she have?
5.
5 shelves. Okay, so I'm picturing my bookshelf, okay? And I've got those 5 shelves, and I want to make sure, Fiona wants to make sure, that she is going to be able to organize those 134 books. They're not all going to fit on one shelf, so she's splitting them into 5 shelves. The important terms here are that she wants about the same number of books on each shelf. 5th graders, this is a big, huge clue for us, because when we're dividing, division is all about taking a total amount of something and splitting it or organizing it into smaller groups. And more importantly, not just smaller groups, but equal groups. I want to make sure that all my groups have the same amount. That's what we use division for. Now, right now, Fiona, please mute yourselves. Right now, Fiona, oh, sorry. Thank you. She is trying to find an estimate. What clue tells you that she's looking for an estimate? What word? What word tells us?
He says about.
Emma?
About.
Right, about tells us as an estimate, right? So the question asks about how many books should Fiona put on each shelf. She wants to have an equal amount. So it's not like we're gonna have one shelf with 1 book and another shelf with 2 books and another shelf with 3 books. She's trying to make a nice, neat bookshelf. So she's got those 134 books. She wants to make sure that each of her shelves has the same amount. But right now, she's not worrying about the specifics of it. She's just trying to get an idea in her head so she can start breaking up those books. So she's looking for an estimate. Again, what clue word told us this was division and not multiplication? How do we know that this is division and not multiplication? Kayla, How do we know?
Because she says she wants to display them on the 5 shelves in her bedroom. So display sort of means like put into each, like sort of like divide them out equally.
Beautiful. What other words tell us? Any other clues in this question that told us we're not multiplying? Very good, Kayla. Any other clues? Nobody sees clues.
I have one.
You have one? Yes.
Dominic.
Yes, Dominic, what's up?
So if you see on the last sentence, it says she wants to display them on 5 shelves in her bedroom library and wants about.
And that's the estimating word. What about
and then same number of books on each?
Same number, right? When you split something up equally into, you're putting them in equal groups, that means we're doing division. Also, by the way, guys, didn't they tell us in the very beginning that Fiona, they told us her total amount of books. They said she has 130, hold on one second. They said she has 134 books in her collection, yes? So if they're telling us the total, we're not going to be multiplying. Usually we multiply to get a total, right? We already know how many she has in all. We're splitting that amount into smaller groups. So that's another clue for us for division. Yes, who had a question? I'm sorry.
Kai.
Go ahead, what's up?
So she said she wants the same number of books on each shelf. So why are we estimating? Because if she wants the same number.
Because it says about. Same, right? About. That's our big clue word. Because right now she's not trying to figure out it exactly. She's got all these books, 134 books. So she's not trying to sit there and count right now. She's just in her head, which is the whole goal. She's saying, okay, let me just start putting these books in piles. About how many books should I put in each pile? And she's trying to figure it out, right? So what on your whiteboards, what equation would you write down to solve this problem? On your whiteboards. I'm going to look up at whiteboards, looking up at whiteboards. What equation? You don't have to solve it yet, but what equation would you write down just to figure out how many books she should be putting on each of these shelves? I'm looking. All right, Izzy's got it, and she's used the traditional algorithm. Very nice setup. Don't need to solve it yet. I want to see. How would you, Jordan's got it, and he's already began solving using the traditional algorithm. Jaden already started with, he knew it was estimation, and he changed his dividend already. Fabulous. Ashley's got the standard algorithm down. Kayla's got our algorithm written horizontally. Perfect. I see Kai's got, I'm trying to see, you've got two things up. Yeah, Kai's got the standard algorithm down, it looks like, and his estimation. Beautiful. All right, I see Luigi's got his up. Jaden's got all his work.
And I did the one without estimating.
Zoe, Emma's got her standard algorithm written, and she's already begun with her estimation. Beautiful. So guys, yeah, when we write our equation, what division will we write? We would be writing 134 divided by 5. And you are welcome to write this in your traditional algorithm way using your table. For now, for estimation purposes, I only wrote it like this because guess what? I'm doing it in my head, which means I'm not going to sit there, if I'm Fiona, with a pencil and paper. I want to say, okay, what can I do to change these numbers in my head so I can get an idea of how many books I should be putting in piles so I can set up that shelf. I'm not trying to find the exact yet. I'll do that later. Just let me start digging into this humongous collection of books. So here's our equation, 134 divided by 5. Now we've got two ways that we can estimate here. Again, this is for mental math purposes. So let's take a look at what we can do. Let's begin with just one way. Let's start with our rounding method. With rounding, again, you are going to be looking for a number change that turns our dividend into a multiple of 10. So that we're kind of using what we did in our last lesson with dividing by multiples of 10, makes it easy peasy because then I just have to focus on my basic facts. So let's look here. When we have 134, and I'm going to stop sharing briefly. So we have 134. Can everybody see? Okay. So, my owl. All right, 134. What are the 200s that it is between? Well, on our number line, it would be between what and what, Ashley?
It would be between 100 and 200.
100 and 200.
But it's closer to 100.
We need to decide which one of these nice, beautiful multiples of 10, because there's so many zeros and zeros are so easy to work with, right? 134 is closest to. So we're looking at the hundreds place. We look next door, and the 3 tells us whether we should go up to a 200 or stay at a 100. Remember, 5 or more raise the score to a 200. 4 or less, let it rest to a 100. Which of these is 134 closer to?
Wait, Miss Velez.
Yes.
There's a
you
way
write
more
it
easier
130
way.
or 135?
Was it 135, not 134? It was 134.
Yeah, but why can't you round it to 135 or 130?
Well, we're trying to pick numbers.
Yeah, but
Listen,
what about 150?
we're trying to pick numbers that are easy for us to estimate. Are there more than one place value that you can estimate to? Sure. For these purposes, I'm going to start with the very easiest, which is to have as many zeros as possible, right? So in this case, would 134 be rounded to a 100 or a 200?
100.
100.
It would be a 100 would be our closest place value. All right. So if you take a look here, when we look at our 134, we're going to change our dividend to a 100. Nice and super easy to work with. Now, 5th graders, you want to take a look at that divisor. Your divisor is very powerful. Your divisor tells us what times table we're working with. Notice that I did not round my divisor. Why? Why did I not round my divisor? I'm looking for some hands. Why? Why did I keep it a 5? Patrick?
Because 5s are easier.
Patrick?
Because 5 is still really easy to divide or multiply.
Exactly. 5 is a times table, I know. I do not want to change my divisor if it is a single digit because those are times table that I'm familiar with. I want to change my dividend because I don't know my 134 times tables, right? So I'm going to be changing, I'm going to keep my divisor of 5 because that's the times table I'm working with. Now that I have my divisor and my new rounded dividend, I'm going to ask myself, always starting with my divisor. I start with my divisor, then I go to my dividend. How many times, knowing about my 5 times table, how many times can 5 go into 100? Well, I'll box my basic facts, which is 10 divided by 5. That gives us 2. And then carry over the extra 0, which gives us 20. That's one way to do it. With compatible numbers, I'm going to look at my 134 and I'm going to look at my 5. With my I'm always going to start with my divisor. So I look at my 5 and I say 5. I know that times table, and I'm going to bring my 5 down because I already know it. With my 134, that's something I want to change. This time I want to get closer. My goal whenever I'm estimating is, yes, I want it to be easy for me to divide in my mind, but at the same time, I want to try and get as close as possible to my original dividend. So for this case, I was looking at my 134 and I knew from my divisor that I'm working with my 5 times table. I tried to think in my 5 times table and remembered, oh wait, I know that 5 times 25 is 125. That's pretty close to 134. So you know what? I'm going to change my 134 to a 125 because I can do that math in my head. 125 divided by 5 is 25. It's a basic fact that I already know by heart, which will save me any kind of time. I'm not going to be sitting there doing any work. If you were sitting there and you selected a number that you had to still write out all your steps, guess what? That's not mental math. So I know that originally some people had rounded their 134 to a 130. And I saw some beautiful work on some of your whiteboards. However, if you are not doing 130 in your head, and you don't know that basic fact by heart, then is it mental math? No. So 130 only works if you know that 130 is in the 5 times table and you know that fact by heart. If you don't, you need to go to a fact that you do know by heart. How many of you knew that 125 was in the 5 times table? We kind of did it a lot when we did our exponential notation. Do you remember that? We kept getting 125. So that's hopefully a basic fact you knew. If you didn't know 125 was in the 5 times table, then perhaps you would have used your rounding, because then you could change that 134 to a 100, or as some of you said, I think I would have changed it to 150 because I know that times table, right? That would have been the way to go with your rounding if that was what you chose. In this case, which method gives me a better estimate? The rounding or the compatible numbers? Which gives me a better estimate? Nobody? Nobody? Which gives me a better estimate?
About rounding.
Rounding gives me a better estimate, or compatible numbers?
No, compatible numbers.
Why does compatible numbers give me a better estimate?
Because it's rounded by...
Ashley?
Because it's closer numbers.
To my original, yeah. Right? Look at my dividend. For my rounding, I changed my dividend from a 134 to a 100, which means I decreased my dividend by 34. So 34 times less than it's supposed to be. That's a lot. Whereas with 125 in my compatible numbers, I only decreased my dividend by what? 9. That's significantly closer than my rounding method. Either I dropped it by 34 or I dropped it by 9. Using compatible numbers will give me an answer that is much closer to my actual answer. So we're going to go with the compatible numbers way and tell Fiona, thank you, Fiona, you can put about 25 books on each shelf. All right, let's try some more, shall we? Everyone's going to be in your textbooks on page 94.
Miss Kimberly Velez, or Miss Velez.
Yes.
Can we leave after like 3 more problems?
I'll figure that out. Depends how confident I am with your confidence in this. So let's see if we fully understand how to do these. I'm going to carefully select a few questions from our text. I want a mix of questions. So let's try out number I'm sorry, number 94. I'm going on the page. Number 2, 444 divided
Miss Flores,
by,
are we rounding or not rounding?
we are simply estimating. So we're going to.
So we're estimating to the nearest 100?
Estimating means you can use rounding or compatible numbers. Okay? So for this, for division, we are trying to get as close as humanly possible to the original dividend. The first place we always look is the divisor. The first place we always look is the first place we always look is the
Divisor.
The first place we always look is the
Divisor.
The first place we always look is the
Divisor.
The first place we always look is the The first place.
Divisor.
Oh, the divisor. That's the first place we always look at.
You're annoying.
Oh my.
You were.
So, what's the first place?
Guys,
The divisor. Fifth graders. Fifth graders. Thank you. So, our first place that we're looking at is always our divisor. Why? Why?
Silence.
Nobody? Radio silence, huh? Hi? Why? Why do I need to look at my divisor first?
Because
I'm biased.
Lower number.
Because you said so.
It's lower.
Because
and
that's
it's,
said so. It's lower
what?
and
wait, you're
Radio
glitching.
silence.
oh, I'm glitching. Sorry.
Radio silence.
Why? Well, our divisor is our times tables. I'm not going to look at my dividend. The divisor has the superpower of the times table. I will. Is the same superpower as our divisors. I'm sorry, as our times table. The 8 in our divisor tells us we are going to be working with the 8 times table. So in my head, mentally, I'm thinking 8 times table. Great. Then after I look at my divisor, then I can look at the dividend. Why? Because now that I know that I'm working with my 8 times table, I'm going to see what basic fact I can find in my divisor that's in the 8 times table. So look, starting with my 8, can my 8 go into 4?
4 can go into 8.
Is 4 in the 8 times table?
Yes.
2 times?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's
50.
not.
Is 44 in the 8 times table?
No.
No, but it's pretty close.
But it's not, but it's really close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to box that as my basic fact.
42.
Guys, please don't call out. Thank you. And now that I have my basic facts boxed, I know that I'm going to keep my 8 because that's my times table. But I know that 44 is not in the 8 times table. So I'm going to, using my divisor, I'm going to figure out what number I can change my 44 to that's still in my 8 times table and really close to 44. What number is in my 8 times table that's super close to 44? Jaden?
40.
40. 40 is in my 8 times table. I know that by heart. So I'm going to change that 44 to a 40. However, guys, listen up. It's not really a 44, is it? It's a 444. So I need to make sure I put a 0 there. I change my 444 into a 400. But guess what? Guess what? Super easy, because guess what? I don't need to worry about that 0. I'm just worrying about my basic facts. Box your basic facts. So 40 divided by 8, our divisor. How many times can our 8 go into?
You don't have to do it every time.
5.
5.
5. That's my basic fact. So box it. Box your guys.
And plus a 0 equals 50.
So I box my basic facts, 40 divided by 8. Don't forget annex, which is a big fancy mathematical word to add on to. Annex to 0. Why is it called annex and not add? Because if we were adding the 0, 5 plus 0 would be 5. Do you see why I say the word annex and not add? Annex to 0 means to place the 0 next to it. There's a difference between add the 0 and annex to 0.
Sounds like the secret annex.
Now you know. Okay. So
sounds like the secret annex from Diary Young Girl.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe that'll help you remember the word annex. All right, let's try another one. Did you copy this in your notebook?
Yeah.
Make sure you did so you have this example. All right, I'm going to carefully select another. Excuse me, sir, may I have another? Of course.
No.
Let's try one.
Yes.
Shh, shh, shh. All right, let's try another one. We're going to try, ponder. Which one did I try with our other group? Let's try 419. We'll try number 16. 419 divided by 7. What number do we look at first?
Divisor.
What number do we look at first? I only heard one person. I'm going to keep going till I hear everybody.
Divisor.
What number do we look at first?
Divisor.
Oh, the divisor. I still don't think that was everybody, but hopefully you know that we always look at the divisor first. Why? Because that is our times table that we're working with, which is the whole point of mental math. We know our times tables by heart, I hope. So we've got our 7. That's our 7 times table. Can 7 go into 4?
No.
Niet.
No.
Can 7 go into 41?
No.
I didn't say perfectly, but can it go in? Does it fit?
No.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
perfectly, but
Yes.
Yes. All right, because remember, we're going to change it anyways. So don't worry about that. Can it go into 41? Yes. So I'm going to box that as my basic fact. I know I'm going to have to change that because I know personally 41 is not in the 7 times table.
Plus,
Yes.
can I say what it's going to estimate into?
All right, hold on. First, I'm going to bring down my basic fact. My divisor of 7. That's my times table. 7 times table. And now that I'm only working with basic facts, forget the 9, 41 is not in my 7 times table. What is the absolute, and I have a hand raised, what is the absolute, is there someone I haven't heard from today? Perhaps I should pick from my cards. What is the absolute closest number in the 7 times table to 41? Mateo.
I'm not in this group. I have to go back to the other.
I sent you an invitation.
42. Yeah, you made me go to
42.
Okay.
42.
I sent you to
No,
gold because you
35.
are gold.
42.
I'm looking now.
42.
Hold on, guys. Mateo, you were sent to gold. Go ahead. All right, sorry. What's the closest to 41 that's in the 7 times table?
42.
Emma?
42.
42.
Yes.
5th graders, are we really changing 419 to 42? We have a 3-digit dividend.
To 420.
Right, we have a 3-digit dividend here. We need to have a 3-digit dividend here. So annex that 0. And now just focus on the basic facts. 42 divided by 7, you're using your divisor to tell you your times table. 7 times what equals 42? 6. So there's our basic fact. 42 divided by 7 is 6. And how many zeros do we need to annex?
1.
1. So our final quotient is 60. Woot, woot. All right, guys. You guys get it?
Yes.
Yay, exciting. All right, let's try another one.
What?
What?
You didn't even say anything.
What are we?
50.
We should be free.
Shh.
Let's be free.
Shh.
I want to free.
Yeah, we want to be free.
All right, let's try another one. Let's try. Gosh, these are all pretty simple, huh?
Yeah, so let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
We'll get through them quick, and then we could be free more quickly.
Can we?
Wow, guys. Okay, let's try one more. 635 divided by, and this is number 17, divided by 8.
Yeah.
All right. First number we look at is the
Divisor.
divisor.
Number 8 again. Wow, it's 8 again. Wow.
Well,
this is
that
so
tells us our
exciting.
times table, 8 times table. Hopefully you're confident with your 8 times table. Can 8 go into
So
6?
it's 8, 7, 8.
Can 8 go into 6? Can 8 go into 6? No. Can 8 go, guys, can 8 go into 63? Yes, not beautifully, but it can happen. And don't worry, we're going to tweak it anyway, so no worries. 8 into 63. Sweet. What can we change that 63 to? So we're working with our 8 times table. That's our basic fact. What in the 8 times table is close to 63? What number is close to 63? Zoe?
Please.
Zoe?
64.
Beautiful, Zoe. But is it really a 64 that we're changing this
No.
634 to? What are we changing it to?
640.
640. Add on that 0. Annex. Divide. All right, let's solve our basic facts. 64 divided by 8.
8
is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. And
plus a 0.
annex to 0, it's 80. Voila.
I said plus.
Pretty easy, right, guys?
Yeah.
So you're not really having to focus on, is this compatible, is this rounding, as long as you box your basic facts. Once you box your basic facts, you just pick whatever number. Sometimes it is rounding. Like that one, 635, technically you could round it to 640, can't you, if you rounded in the tens place? So honestly, you're not even worrying about, am I rounding, am I compatible numbers? I'm just boxing my basic facts and figuring out, with those basic facts, what could I change my dividend to? And this is super easy only if you know your times tables. I will say, do not change your numbers to something that you cannot do in your head. If you are changing your dividends to something where you're still writing out all the steps, you're not using estimation. You're not. All right, guys? How are we feeling about this?
Good.
We want to be free.
Good.
All right, I will see you during block C tomorrow.
Goodbye.
I'll put some practice problems up, but we won't have math because we have STAR test, okay?
Bye.
So who's the last